Last year I was walking out of a juice bar, got into my car, and noticed a young woman exit behind me with her smoothie. And she sat down alone on a bench outside. I thought, that's nice, for her to take some time to just enjoy her healthy drink in the fresh air. But she was actually staging the perfect selfie. And with outstretched arm and beaming smile, she snapped a photo of her face next to the smoothie. And as she brought her phone back for review, her smile instantly faded and then morphed into a frown as she grimaced with displeasure at the image of herself. So she tried again, but the next pic was also met with disapproval. Then she adjusted the angle and direction and tried over and over, but no selfie was good enough. And I watched this continue for like 15 minutes until she finally gave up and left in disappointment. Well, that scene really affected me. At first it was amusing because it looked strange and silly. Until recent times, there wasn't even the means to reject oneself for 15 minutes straight. So then it was disheartening because she didn't see anything beautiful that whole time. I wondered what happens in the brain in the moment of vetoing a selfie. I've learned that researchers at Caltech University have been able to electrically stimulate previously inaccessible regions of the human brain, resulting in subjects finding faces to be more beautiful. Maybe one day that will develop into a therapeutic intervention for helping us appreciate who or what we ought to find beautiful, including ourselves. And then that scene was illuminating because it inspired me to reflect on decades of practicing music and meditation and how it's made life more beautiful for me. 3 qualities stand out, which I consider to be endangered aesthetics or less and less common ancient ways of seeing beauty, born out of the collective wisdom of mindful and creative insight and from simply looking deeper at the nature of reality. Those 3 qualities are imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness. The pursuit of the perfect selfie with filters and apps reminds me of auto-tuning and sampling and other digital tools for the perfect audio capture in music. So much cultural demand, but also self-imposed pressure to look and sound perfect and produce better and better results propels all this forward. And there's something to be said for the technological innovation, but beneath these achievements, something beautiful lies hidden, namely this first endangered aesthetic of imperfection. Imperfection can be beautiful because it may not be able to be reproduced. In music, the imperfect way a player or band is feeling the rhythm while performing live is especially human and totally unique to that moment. So-called timing mistakes and sound artifacts in earlier industry recordings were actually unconscious collaborations with chance and now have a timeless charm that's not easy to find in contemporary popular music. Perfection, on the other hand, can happen again. However, they are not really perfect things. The world is a collection of events made up more of verbs than nouns. So a smile is actually smiling. Rain is raining, or love is loving. Not things, but processes. And life too is a process. Ultimately, perfectionism is a type of anxiety that holds one back from being fully engaged in the process of lifing. As much as the Giving Tree Band might have wished it could have recorded the 6th album first, it was a process. But fear can prevent you from ever getting there. Over time, artists and musicians have edited themselves right out of the work. If you thought that creativity would be the last job to be automated because of the humanness and emotional quality required to produce beautiful art, well, consider that composer David Cope's experiments in musical intelligence, or Emmy, as the AI program was affectionately known as, was able to produce 5,000 original chorale hymns in the style of Bach in one afternoon. Upon hearing one of the pieces, the audience found the music to be more Bach-like than Bach. Reviewers have delighted at and eerily described other computer-generated compositions as soulful or inspiring. Artificial intelligence has even authored meaningful haiku poems and painted on canvases. 1 year ago, a series of Renaissance-themed paintings signed by the algorithm that painted them was expected to garner bids as high as $10,000 at a premier art house auction in New York. The collection ended up selling for $432,500. The main consideration here is, if we can no longer accept and appreciate imperfection in our art, how can we accept and appreciate imperfection in ourselves? And the second aesthetic is impermanence. Whatever seems to manifest seems to unmanifest. Life is short, and experiences don't last, but that boundary of time shapes an experience in a meaningful and attractive way. Musical notes rise and fall like waves on the ocean. Both sound and silence together make melodies possible. The musical half-life of banjo tones is short. The notes decay rather quickly, so it tends to be played fast. Similarly, think of sunrise or sunset. It wouldn't mean as much if it were a permanent fixture in the sky. Now think of a human being. The miracle of aliveness is easily appreciated in the baby during the sunrise of life. But what about in the elderly? Do we take the same time and care to celebrate and appreciate our people in that stage? Isn't the aesthetic quality of the twilight of life at least somewhat like that of an old barn, leaning so far over that it's one storm or strong wind away from ceasing to be a barn? And for the most part, no one really notices, except maybe a photographer. And when she shows that work, then others can understand the beauty they might have otherwise overlooked. So there can be more beauty at the edges of existence, but we don't always know where the edge lies, and impermanence can strike unexpectedly. Therefore, it's been said to live each day as if it were your last. But this gets impractical. I personally would empty my bank account, make a bunch of other short-sighted decisions. But maybe impermanence can teach us to live each day as if it were everyone else's last. This outlook could stop us from mistakenly assuming the permanence of a relationship and help us get past the extraneous to reveal what's essentially beautiful in each moment and in each connection. It might help us just let go of petty hang-ups and look upon all in our life with more love and gratitude and express it before it's too late. And then there's incompleteness. Although nothing lasts, nothing is completely lost. All the energy that ever was or will be is also now. But our negativity bias can make the vinyl record of our life start to skip. Time streams forward, but we extrapolate moments in our minds and judge them completely. But they're incomplete. please listen to a series of chords strummed one at a time on the banjo, and I'd like you to think about how you might judge the emotional content of each. Here's the first one. What do you think? Maybe happy, cheerful, some other bright mood maybe? How about this one? Definitely darker, right? So maybe sad or down. Life's not always neatly happy or sad. It gets complicated. Songwriters sometimes combine chords into polychords to express the confluence of feelings. So this next one is just that. I'm going to combine the previous two chords and play them together at the same time. Sounds like this. Not completely light or dark, maybe melancholic. All right, this last one is a little rougher. This one's more dissonant. Maybe it's frustrated or scared. Someone said ugly and out of tune, or like I don't know how to play the instrument. But none of this is the complete story because it's not how music actually works. Whereas art decorates space, music decorates time, and therefore needs to be flowing. So listen to that last chord again, not as an isolated sound, but as part of a sequence, and notice how your perception changes. One more time. Does it still sound tense or chaotic? When our ears hear it as a bridge and incomplete on its own, it can be beautiful and make sense in the broader context. Accepting unpleasant events in our life or in the world as incomplete leads to seeing the bigger picture and the ability to solve problems from an elevated perspective. And I see this one in my banjo because it goes in and out of tune and repair and disrepair. We're the same age. It was built in 1978. Maybe back then it was considered complete. But I like to think we're both becoming vintage as time and experience and natural forces build on and hopefully add value. It has different tuners and different drum head and other new parts. An artist painted a floral pattern in the shape of a heart, which led to our band renaming it the Heart Banjo. Someone played it before me, and one day someone else will play it after me, and its story will continue, because every story goes on. Like the starlight that continues to reach us long after the star burns out, the light of each life shines on. So why did I choose these three qualities of imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness? Because they're not entirely separate. There's an underlying unity like that of a triangular prism. Three lenses refract light into three distinct colors, but when traced back, one prism, one light. Similarly, I shared some examples that emphasize each unique aesthetic angle of perception. But other examples can reveal the subtle wholeness of these three qualities. A baby trying to walk is cute and imperfect, but not permanently so. His falls are not the final facts. The budding fruit adorns the tree. That fruit is also bitter and hard, so it's not perfect, but it's not bad fruit either. It's merely unripe and incomplete as it matures towards maximum sweetness right before breaking down in the earth or in our stomach. The lenses of a prism have no particular order, and we can look at life through any one of these aesthetic lenses or rotate them around in fullness. Beauty is in the brain of the beholder. And neuroimaging reveals that it's not mapped much differently than pleasure, and therefore likely wired into evolution for survival and reproduction. But in this critical stage of our technological and spiritual development, maybe there's more to it. Perhaps our outlook matters more than the outcome. And if we could consciously look through these aesthetic lenses, we might just share a vision of a more beautiful world and experience the inner beauty of self-acceptance and the freedom of an unencumbered mind. Thank you.